The memo is out of the bag. And I'm just here to tell you, boy, them flaming hot Cheetos left some massive heartburn. Possibly some skid marks and a lot of shit. And it has to be handled with. Unfortunately, it has to be handled with. And so here we are. This is why I want all you young men out there to listen to your Mama Liz. Just give me a few minutes. Listen to your Mama Liz. And you'll be super thankful you did. And Ryan, honey, this one's for you too. Hang on. Pull your britches up. It's fixing to get deep. First and foremost, I want to say that when anyone, male or female, goes to a sheriff's department or to a court clerk, a circuit court clerk, and has basically any proof that there's been any kind of altercation, even a bad word or any animosity between two parties, normally a domestic violence order or an order of protection is given. And they're given a court date. And they're just going to say, you know something, I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm going to give you this piece of paper. We're also going to serve the other party. Y'all leave each other alone until we get to court, and then we'll figure out what's going on. I knew something was going on because Upchurch went radio silent, which is not like him, but hey, I was hoping maybe he just needed a break. But then I started to see the other party everywhere on the freaking internet. Now, I'm sorry, but when I saw her interview Jordan Peterson, the bottom fell out for me. I'm sorry. In what world has she done anything that she deserves to be even in the same airspace as Jordan Peterson? And why did he give her that interview? But I'm going to tell you something. She may have told herself that interview. And Ryan, if you're listening to me, listen now. Have your team watch that interview with Jordan Peterson. Have your team take video of her sexual aggressiveness with Jordan Peterson. How the way she nailed him. How the way she tried to teach him new sexually aggressive words and descriptors. And how she pushed the envelope in a sexual nature. Give it to you, lawyer. Because here's something that we have to look at. We have to look at background. Best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. How many times y'all heard me say that? The court's going to look at background. Guess who's got a big background? It ain't your boy Ryan. No, it ain't. But somebody does have a very consistent issue with stating that there are domestic issues between them and someone else, and then having these internet spats. And then she uses the internet spat while she's got this 15 minutes of fame to do bam, 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 back-to-back things, hoping that it will rise her fame. But all she does is then drop off the radar when people realize she used her base. So, team, you're stupid. Here's what should have happened. And I think this is my hypothesis of what will happen. I think when this goes to court, if they ever stop just resetting it, actually make them show up and take care of business. Because what she's doing right now is just trying to drag this out because she knows it's financially crippling Ryan. Another way she's being the aggressor. Just saying. There's much more to domestic violence than just physical violence, okay? And honestly, the way that she has made him have to stay home and restrict his earnings and stuff, if this goes to court and the judge looks at her background and goes, you've had this issue multiple times, and then we see this sexually very, over-sexualized, explicit interview that you did with this gentleman. We see you also trying to grab airtime on other shows due to this. We think you're misusing this to your advantage, and therefore we don't think it was near as much scary as it was just a useful thing for you to have. So therefore they may determine that she falsified the emotions behind that. Therefore, falsification of any kind with any report is punishable in Tennessee. And so if they throw it out, then it means there was never a case, the domestic order dissolves, nobody was ever in trouble, it was just let's all be careful and say never the twain shall meet until this is dealt with. But if they come to court and they deal with it right and they look at what's going on and they see that she may have manipulated the terms of this and used it to her advantage and used it as a publicity stunt, I can talk. then they may say that they believe she was not under duress, she was not terrified or scared for her life, that she was actually using this for fame, while she was at the same time financially trying to cripple the other person. And hopefully some judge will have his head screwed on straight that day and say, you know something, when you have a history of this, and you've done this to more than 1, 2, 3 people, now you have a pattern of behavior. Now we have other sexual behavior since the event happened that you're portraying on the internet. Because here's the thing, if you don't want people to be hypersexual to you, you probably shouldn't be hypersexual to other people. Hey women, if you don't want men to grab your butt, don't leave them half hanging out your stupid jean shorts. You know, don't tease and then get mad when they respond to a tease. And, you know, and I've been really rough on Ryan about this, because I always tell him, make better choices, pick better people. Them flaming hot Cheetos will get you every time. But I actually at this point, I don't believe any of this is his fault, except for the initial acceptance of the contact with the female in question. That was a bad mistake. But what has happened since then has just been something that this female seems to do consistently. It's a pattern of behavior. At this point, I believe this is just her fame route. This is her fame ramp. And she keeps getting on and off the interstate of fame, but she can't stay there very long. And so she keeps doing negative things to garner attention. And I'm sorry, but as a woman who worked in the court system, actually saw men and women both who were victims of domestic violence, it's sickening to see someone take the instigator role, the aggressor role, and then run with it, try to financially cripple someone else, go online and be sexually explicit while you're saying, I feel, you know, scared because of our relationship got out of hand. But then you go and you're sexually explicit online during an interview to somebody else, and then you use it to get airtime on other shows. Women, don't do this. Don't do this crap. Because what men should do, and men, if you're listening to me, young boys, if you're listening to me, teenagers, gear up for this. If you have anyone that you are seeing that threatens to go to the court, go to the law, state that you've hurt them in any way, what you have to do is call first and put something, make a paper trail. Because let me tell you how these DVOs, these domestic violence orders, and these orders of protection work. Whoever gets there first gets it. Whether they're telling the truth, whether the other party was actually the one that was in harm's way. No, whoever gets there first gets it. And then they go to court. And they think they're going to look good because they go to court and they went and got the paperwork first. But sometimes their behavior will bite them in the butt. Mama Liz is predicting that her behavior is going to bite her in the butt. And I'm just saying, young men, this is why I've told you for the last year and a half, leave the flaming hot Cheetos on the freaking shelf. There's something about a good solid Lay's baked potato chips as plain as day, but won't hurt you in the long run, you know, that you need to appreciate. You know, some of us girls, we ain't the prettiest, we ain't the thinnest, and we may not absolutely rock your world when we walk beside you, but we ain't gonna take you to court. We ain't gonna try to ruin your life. There's some really dandy young women out there that get overlooked because you boys are so, you're like sight hounds. You're like a freaking greyhound. I mean, you can have a bowl of food that's good right in front of you, but as soon as you see something whip in front of your eyes, phew, you're a sight hound. And you get your hind end in trouble. And this is how you get your butt in trouble. Now I think when they go to court, it's going to be dissolved, and there's a possibility that her behavior may come back to hurt her in some way. The court may look unfavorably on how she has handled herself since claiming to have been terrified for her life. And I think that Ryan should, if that's true, if they say that we think you falsified the emotional side of this, or you know, any part of it, and they find her in contempt or give her a charge, I think Ryan should sue to recoup his losses and give it to Shop with a Cop. And that would just be just like eternal justification. Because I'm sorry, not only is she hurting Ryan, she's hurting that entire county who has benefited from his generosity for years. That's one thing I've talked about. He has done so much for his area, so much for the people in his area. And he has a good relationship with them because he openly tries to aid the people in his area. You know, there's something to be said about women who go through life and they don't just try to crop dust men. They don't get fake big old tickle bitties. I'm trying to be nice. You know, but if you feel the need in life that you have to go get a big old set of tickle bitties and create havoc and just rain hell down upon everybody that you have any kind of relationship with, there's a slight possibility that you have antisocial behavior issues or a possible borderline personality issue. There may be a need to go speak to somebody, because after you have this a couple of times and we develop a pattern, eventually the pattern is going to become such a negative in your life that it's going to cause you irrevocable harm, and you're not going to be able to undo the pattern, and you have basically sealed in your behavior for the remainder of your life, and it's not going to be positive, it's not going to be conducive to happiness or long-term relationships, and you've done nothing but step on your own toe while trying to stomp on somebody else's. And if anyone really wants to know how I feel about this young woman, you can just go to the interview she did with Jordan Peterson and look at my comments. I left a dandy. This is not fun. This is not a game. This is real life. And for anyone to take a domestic violence order, go to a domestic violence, someone that has security, that then seeks out a place that is there to help women with no funds, no resources. It's just sad. It's just sad. Because you know something? To be somebody who swears she's got a big old set of swinging balls, she sure does run for the hills and claim victim status a whole awful lot, doesn't she? Doesn't she? Yeah, she's like that brother in the back seat. Like, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. And, you know, then you both get in trouble. And that bothers me. That bothers me, number one, because it hurts other people. But number two, because it impedes any kind of life she's going to be able to develop. And she's old enough to know better. She's almost as old as me. Granted, she's holding up better, but then again, I don't get Bondo repair done by a team of experts. You know something? Just hang on, Ryan. I think that vindication is headed your way. And I really think y'all should look at that Jordan Peterson interview. I really think y'all should look at her over-sexualized, just absolute hyper-sexualization of the entire interview, and then tell me she's in any way a victim of any kind of romantic liaison. Tell me she is not an aggressor. She is not someone who demands control and who flexes sexual domination. It really made me gag. I watched 45 seconds of it and had to stop because I literally gagged and I couldn't get through it. But I do know from the comments and from the outtakes that she taught him words, and even turned into like cooking into a sexual encounter. And it was rather nasty. I lost a whole lot of respect for Dr. Peterson that day because I know he wants to do interviews. He's getting back on the merry-go-round, but honey, we don't play with the people that are in pre-K. When you have the brain you have, you don't play with the people in pre-K, Dr. Peterson. Woohoo, hello. But I lost a lot of respect for his daughter, Michaela, who I thought was smarter than that, than to create a bond or relationship with someone who is absolutely so superficial. I mean, if she were a mud hole, it couldn't hold a raindrop. She just that empty. That's the depth. There's nothing there. I'm just amazed, but the cat's out of the bag now. I'm just amazed, but the cat's out of the bag now. We know what's going down. This is a great learning experience. Chin up, Ron. You got the receipts, you got the facts. Candace Owens was right. I saw that and was like, oh ho ho, and that's when I knew all the little on-air interviews and things she'd been doing was she was trying to capitalize off what was supposed to happen. Yeah. This is sad. But sadly, this is real world issues for people that aren't famous too. And young men, young women, this is what happens when you enter into a relationship that you don't know the psychological balance of your partner. You don't know what they're capable of. You don't have background history. And you don't have a good working rapport or foundation with them. You never know what to expect. You always tell people I wouldn't pet a dog, or I wouldn't adopt a dog I couldn't pet. I wouldn't buy a horse I couldn't see ridden. Don't date somebody until you do a background. In today's time, it's just necessary. But just having a domestic violence order between two people does not place guilt on either party. It just says something has occurred where the court wants to say time out until we can get this to court. We won't know if the court sides with who or what or throws it out until they go to court, and she's going to drag this out because she knows it's financially crippling Ron. I mean, you can just look at this, and I mean, you can just see her Grinch smile growing. Sad. It's sad. So sad. This is not how adults should have relationships. This is not how someone who is supposed to be in the public eye and a predominant figure should handle herself. And if you're 36 and you can't have a physical relationship with somebody without ending up calling to Popo or going to somebody in a black robe to weed things out, it may be time to be single. Lord Jesus. Somebody call the fire department and Flamin' Hot Cheetos got us all again.